It's unmuted. Um, I didn't eat breakfast. I just drank a soda. And so I'm going to keep talking so you could. Do you hear me? Yeah, cool. Are you ready? Oh, okay. All right, cool. So, all right. All right. So here's another sound check. I went to the bank the other day and they told me to check their balance. So I pushed them over. Bad joke.
Good afternoon. I have some bad news to share, some tough news to share. On Saturday, we had our first day ever with over 1,000 cases of coronavirus in Colorado. Unfortunately, we just have our second day with over 1,000 cases today. More alarming than that, we now have a positivity rate in Colorado above 5%, which is the number identified by the World Health Organization for when there is an active outbreak and additional concerns around public safety with community transmission. It's very worrisome. It's very alarming. This is our highest single-day caseload since March. We also are at 290 hospitalizations. That's the highest we've seen since May. 290 people hospitalized, the highest since May. The positivity rate is 5.4% for the three-day average. Today's numbers, which reflect yesterday, are 6.4% positivity. We need to get this under control now. We're going to have some good stuff, some fun stuff to talk about during this today in terms of how we can support our restaurants, our small businesses. But that all depends on consumer confidence. It all depends on safety. We've got to get these numbers down. And if this trend continues, our hospital capacity will be in jeopardy, given that we're now at 290. We were well under half that just a month ago, highest since May. And this is a critical juncture. We need to get this under control now. As we head into winter, people are indoors, they see their families, there's holiday travel. We have to be able to get this in control before the Thanksgiving and holiday season, and we just have a few-week window to do that. The World Health Organization recommended that the positives remain below 5%. This is our first time where positive testing has exceeded 5%. How do we bring that down? Two ways. One is we reduce the spread, we wash our hands, we reduce our social interactions, we wear masks in public. The second is more testing, because one of the dangers of a positivity rate in excess of 5% is we know there's not enough testing to identify enough of the positive cases. So more testing will bring down that positivity rate. It's free, it's quick and easy. Site near you at covid19.colorado.gov. In the Denver metro area, Waterworld is free, quick, and easy to get tested. You can also contact your local doctor or community health clinic. If we are successful in controlling this in the next few weeks, it'll set us up, not only our small businesses and restaurants for success, it'll set up the state for further success in being able to go into a holiday season in a safe way, which is very important because while we always love to see our friends and our relatives in October and early November, it's a tradition in late November around Thanksgiving, and I know that many families don't want to risk the lives of aunts and uncles and grandparents over getting together. So, new therapies are coming online monthly, not to mention the likelihood of a vaccine the end of this year, early next year. It's better to get coronavirus now than it was in March, but it's also going to be better in December. There's new and better treatments, right? So if you saw, for instance, the treatments that the president got, remdesivir, steroids, plasma, these are not widely available with the exception of steroids. That's later. But remdesivir, we have very limited dosage. We cannot give it to people early in the course of infection here in Colorado because there's only enough of it to give to people who warrant that treatment. And so those supplies will increase. There will be more remdesivir. There will be other therapies. So that's another reason why, again, the longer we can delay these peaks, the better. There'll be better treatments, and also we hope to have a vaccine soon. 1,048 new positive cases yesterday. We are now continuing this alarming trend. And frankly, it's just time to change. It's time for us all to change. Just ask yourself, what can I do to prevent the spread of coronavirus? It's very simple. If you interact with 10 to 15 people most days, what does interact with mean? It means you're in close vicinity within a few feet for a period of 10 or 15 minutes. Reduce that number of people. Interact with only 3 or 4 people, not 10 or 15 people, just for the next few weeks. Look, maybe you're planning to go out with your girlfriends this Saturday. Just call them. You know what? They're all thinking the same thing. Should we put it off a week or two? Should we put it off a week or two? Yes. Put off that little reunion and fun a few weeks. till things are safer, because if one person has it, they're all likely to get it, and with that would come hospitalization and even loss. Wear masks in public, especially indoors, but outdoors around a lot of others. It's a cheap, easy tool, right? This allows us to move forward with the confidence we need and to grow our economy, to stay safe. They're required indoors, but we wear them walking our dog and hiking and everything else when we're out with our kids. Very easy step that you can take that reduces the risk. Wash your hands regularly with soap, and reduce your number of social interactions. It's simple things. We've said them a million times. You know them at this point, right? Wear masks, reduce your social interactions, keep a distance from others, wash your hands regularly. You know them. Just ask yourself, how can I do better? How can I encourage those who I love to do better? We have to do better, right? We're above 5% positivity, 1,000 cases, 290 hospitalizations. This is a major risk for our health and our economy if it continues this way. And whether it continues this way is in your hands. It depends on the choices we make. We made great choices. We did it right. When we had that July 4th peak, we got it under control, late July, early August. But unfortunately, September, October, it moved the wrong way substantially. We need a change. 2 days of the last 3 over 1,000 cases, positivity rate above 5%. It's clear that we need to do an even better job reducing the number of people we interact with, keeping a distance, wearing a mask, and washing our hands regularly with soap. Wildfire update. Cameron Peak is now at 134,599 acres. It's still the third largest fire in the history of our state, 56% contained. The Mullen Fire is even larger. It's mostly in Wyoming, but it is partially in Colorado. 176,000 acres, 30% contained. We really rely, while we have great perimeter protection around protecting mostly homes and second homes and structures, we really are beholden to wind and weather for the fate of those fires as we continue to hold the perimeter protection around several key areas that have a lot of structures. Williams Fork Fire, 14,357 acres, 26% contained. Middle Fork Fire, 19,305 acres, 0% contained. That's the one that's just north of Steamboat Springs. This is still fire season, right? So I want to make sure people know that we're still in core fire season till we have the precipitation associated with winter, where the wildlife-urban interfaces are particularly threatened. And we want to emphasize the need to be thoughtful, be careful, and monitor the air quality too if you're sensitive. And one final note, if you're experiencing symptoms that you think are associated with poor air quality, a cough, a sore throat, trouble breathing, get COVID tested. Right? These are some of the same symptoms that the early stages of COVID have before it often worsens, or in some people gets better or worsens. So please, sore throat, cough, trouble breathing, get tested. It's free, it's quick and easy. It'll be a load off your shoulders. And if it is a positive, it could save the lives of your friends and family members who otherwise you wouldn't know to isolate and to be careful because you think it might just be the smoke. So it's easy, it's quick. You owe it to yourself. You owe it to your loved ones. If you have symptoms you think are related to the fires and respiratory conditions, please get tested. Look, from the very get-go, we've talked about the health crisis and the economic crisis. This is both. Our economic health is intricately tied into our public health. That's why we have to do better in wearing masks and seeing less people and social distancing. We have to do better if we want our economy to grow, because in the areas that have had acute hotspots, there has been a complete deterioration in consumer confidence, and people are terrified to leave their home, engage in commerce. We don't want that here. So we've got to control this now, and the better we do at containing the virus and reducing transmission, the more confidence consumers have, the more they're willing to shop and dine. That helps our small businesses, that helps the workers that are employed there. One of the key pieces of our economy that is personally meaningful to all of us, because I don't think there's a Coloradan that hasn't at some point in their lives been to a restaurant. And I know there's some Coloradans that might only go to restaurants on very special occasions a few times a year. My family likes to go out to eat in normal times once or twice a week. And there are many families that like to go out once or twice a week. Today we're going to talk about the importance, the centrality of one of the hardest hit industries from this pandemic, and that's the restaurant industry. Some restaurants have shuttered, others are struggling through no fault of their own. Some have adapted early to takeout and delivery, and have found new ways to thrive in a challenging environment. Consumer confidence is slow to return for in-person dining. There's been a lot of demand in the outdoor dining, and I want to applaud the many municipalities that have successfully integrated outdoor dining into their downtown or business areas. But when we think about restaurants, we all have a personal experience with restaurants. I own two, and they both failed. Restaurants are a risky business, even in good times. Most of them fail. Being 0 for 2 is not too unusual. Maybe when I'm done being governor, I'll try again. But you know what? They represent more than dollars and cents. Our restaurants are neighborhood institutions. They're gathering places. They're community building places. They're part of our rich cultural fabric: Ethiopian, Mexican, Italian, Chinese, first generation, second generation, intergenerational. They sustain livelihoods. They're part of our vibrant culture. And of course, restaurants support jobs. Each restaurant that closes means dozens of people that lose their jobs. Families and households that are thrown into economic uncertainty might not be able to make rent. And you know what? There's larger supply chain impacts when a restaurant has difficulty. That's even more workers and jobs. There's a ripple effect. I was at a cheese company in Longmont recently. Their business is about half retail and half restaurant supply. And they said their retail is doing better than ever. It's up a bit, but their restaurant supply got killed, less than half. So their business overall is down, tougher for their employees, cutting back hours. And so there's a lot of businesses associated with the restaurant supply chain, including the ag industry itself, and especially specialty ag. And when our restaurants thrive, that whole ecosystem thrives. And that's why we want to do everything we can to support this important industry during these extraordinary times. We want Colorado's restaurant industry to bounce back, to be resilient. The health of our restaurant industry is essential to our state's recovery and to our way of life. Over the past 7 months, restaurant owners and workers have shown great creativity and resourcefulness and innovation by adapting to COVID-19 safety guidelines to give their customers a reasonably safe experience. We know, simple fact, validated by dozens of studies, that it's safer to be outdoors than indoors. With recirculating air always puts it at a higher risk of transmission. Outdoors is safer. And you know what? Outdoor dining spaces have been a lifeline that frankly have enabled many restaurants to be at 100% or more of their normal capacity if the demand is there. We also know that we live in Colorado. We do have 4 seasons. And while we're still in fall and there's some nice evenings ahead, winter weather is fast approaching. And we're going to need to be even more creative and resilient with our outdoor dining experience. That's why I'm encouraging and calling upon city leaders and local government to start thinking now, if they haven't already been, about ways to sustain outdoor dining throughout the winter months by utilizing things like fire pits and space heaters and tenting. It may mean temporary suspension of municipal ordinances against fire pits. It might mean help with funding and zoning of space heaters and tenting and technical assistance and support from the municipality, just as many municipalities successfully over summer adapted to deploy more outdoor seating. With this goal in mind, in many ways, the vibrancy of the restaurant industry itself in our state. I'm pleased to announce that on October 19th, there'll be a virtual convening of architects, contractors, visionaries, engineers, public health officials, restaurant leaders, to discuss ways to creatively continue to provide a safe outdoor dining experience this winter. Together, we can establish Colorado as a national leader in keeping customers safe and adapting to this new normal. And you know what? It's not just important to Denver and Thornton and Fort Collins and Boulder and Colorado Springs. This is also the economic lifeline of our mountain resort communities. How can we distinguish ourselves and make sure that visitors from across the country, and if they're allowed to come here, other countries and across the world, can safely dine in some of our most beautiful mountain areas, the key of those downtown areas' success in a safe way. We have a special guest to provide, several special guests to provide detail on our Colorado approach to outdoor dining. I would like to introduce Sonia Riggs, the president and CEO of the Colorado Restaurant Association. Sonia has been a key partner and playing a critical role in supporting their members during the toughest challenge that many of them are ever likely to face collectively, which is the pandemic that is now occurring. Sonia has been a key partner as we work on safety guidelines, try to convince local governments to move quickly, to make the changes to allow for liquor takeout and service on non-adjacent plots, all of these steps that we've taken to make sure that among all the states, Colorado is a leader in sustaining our restaurant industry through this very challenging time. With that, I'll turn it over to Sonia.
Thank you, Governor Polis. The Colorado Restaurant Association and its foundation are excited to partner with the state of Colorado, the American Council of Engineering Companies, the American Institute of Architects, Associated General Contractors, and the American Society of Landscape Architects on this unique initiative to give restaurants a fighting chance to survive this winter. This pandemic has been the greatest challenge the restaurant industry has faced in living memory. Patio expansions and other measures have been critical to helping restaurants survive the summer, which is why we're very worried about the winter. 65% of restaurants say they will consider permanently closing within 6 months if nothing changes. That's no doubt in part because they're anticipating losing their expanded patio space that has been a lifeline. On October 19th, some of the state's most talented architects, engineers, designers, and landscape architects will come together with local and state officials and restaurateurs to conceptualize winter outdoor dining solutions that are safe, fast, and easy to implement, and affordable. Teams will work on conceptual solutions for different kinds of spaces, from parking lanes to rooftops, and different geographies, from urban corridors to the snowy Rockies. We're confident that we will come out of this workshop with concrete ideas for helping restaurants across the state use their patios and outdoor spaces all winter. Even better, restaurants will then have access to funding to assist in building their own solutions. We've surveyed Colorado restaurants monthly since the start of the pandemic, and they've told us their biggest needs are cash and increased capacity. This program offers both: a way to creatively and safely add seats this winter, and cash assistance to actually build these solutions. We're thankful to the state for working closely with us on this innovative program, and we look forward to having Governor Polis, several senior members of the administration, and experts from state and local agencies to join us for this workshop to bring it to life and ensure its success. For more information on this program, we encourage people to visit cooutdoordining.org. I know this program won't work for all restaurants, but it can work and will work for a number of restaurants, and it's important to help however we can. I'd like to also remind the public how important local restaurants are to our communities. They are what makes our town and neighborhood feel like our town and neighborhood. They are the places where we experience some of our most memorable moments: accepting a new job, marriage proposals, celebrations of accomplishments, or major events with friends and family, and connecting with each other. They're also often where we commiserate or seek comfort in moments of collective trauma or loss, something we haven't been able to do during the pandemic. Restaurants are community players too. They donate to their local schools and support local causes. During the pandemic, I've been awestruck by the stories of restaurants that, despite being strapped for cash, continue to donate meals to local school children and frontline workers. Now, these critical businesses need your help. We encourage all of you to support your local restaurants now and during the cold weather months. Dine out if you're well, or order takeout or delivery if you're not able to dine in. The Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment has told us actually that ordering in from a restaurant may be a safer alternative to getting your food than going to the grocery store, because you don't have to make contact with anyone to do so. I ask you to consider what you'd lose if you lost your local restaurant, and then do what you can to help them survive this pandemic. Thank you for your support.
Thank you, Sonia. We're also joined by a restaurateur who was far more successful than I was as a restaurateur, Aileen Riley, the owner of Beast and Bottle in Caperta. She'll share her firsthand experience of the struggles that she faced, that most of our restaurants faced, and the efforts in creative thinking that have helped kept her business afloat during this time. Aileen?
Thank you, Governor Polis. Along with my brother Paul and my husband JP, we own Beast and Bottle in Caperta in Uptown. We've been in the neighborhood for nearly 8 years, and we built communities in both the restaurants. Communities that we feel grateful to serve, even during this challenging time. A big part of our community are our local farmers and ranchers, who supply our restaurants and drive our menus. On March 17th, we closed both full-service restaurants for the safety of our team as we learned more about the pandemic. Then in the beginning of May, we partnered with Olin Farms in Longmont to bring local produce to the Denver area in the absence of farmers markets for weekly pickups that helped us preserve some of our reconnect with the community. Once the Denver patio expansion program was announced, we began to plan our reopening. The patio gave us a safe way to expand our capacity and made reopening our doors worth it. We expanded into the green space next to our sidewalk and were able to move on to the parking lanes to create additional seating. We launched takeout and delivery in June and July. We invested in a much more vibrant takeout program, including the packaging to weekday meals for two to home kits, and partnered with third-party deliveries. We adjusted our menus to have items that travel better to ensure a delicious experience at home. We also invested in new software to make online ordering easy and accessible for our guests. We continue to innovate and find new revenue streams. We are doing pop-ups with different types of cuisines in off hours to generate more sales. Next week, we'll actually host our first virtual wine tasting dinner. As business shifts, we work hard to keep our guests and our employees safe. We follow the guidelines. We brought in additional products for cleaning and disinfecting, and we have a hand sanitizer in multiple locations throughout the restaurant. We do all of this in the face of uncertainty. Every day new information comes out, and we continue to navigate the unknown. Our team members are putting themselves out there when they're serving our guests. This is scary when guests may not want to follow the rules and could put our teams at risk. Here's the reality. While we're extremely fortunate to have expanded seating, reduced capacity and guest uncertainty means our sales are down about 45%. We continue to deal with product shortages and all areas of supply chain that have been affected by the pandemic. Some items are 3 times the price they were pre-COVID. We are facing 100% of costs with significantly less in sales. Now we're facing the winter. We have invested in greenhouses to replace our current outdoor seating, but this is a significant capital expenditure when we are already in the midst of an extremely difficult year. Even in the summer, outdoor seating had its challenges. Last weekend alone, a windstorm took down every one of our tents, destroying them, leaving us without covered seating as the temperatures drop. We are unable to replace these tents at this time, but with the hope of our greenhouses, we hope that our guests will be willing to sit outside in the greenhouses for one group at a time. The greenhouses will be much warmer than an open-air tent. More capacity and more financial assistance, like another round of PPP funding from the federal government and the Restaurants Act, are critical for the restaurant industry. We are thankful for all the work that Governor Polis has done to support Colorado restaurants. This outdoor expansion program, supplemented with grants, will help all of our odds. Continued assistance as we weather this crisis is vital for the future of the restaurant industry. The entire restaurant community is facing an uphill battle as we move into this next season. We continue to ask the neighbors and community to support us through this next chapter. whether dining in or ordering takeout and delivery. Every person, every visit, and every order helps us to continue to survive.
Thank you, Aileen, and I join Aileen and the association on our strong support for the Restaurant Act and Senator Bennett's efforts and the bipartisan group of legislators that are working on federal assistance, both additional PPP, the Restaurant Act, restaurants, venues, and assistance to the most impacted industries from the pandemic, including venues, restaurants, hospitality. We encourage Congress to work in a bipartisan way to get that done. As Aileen and Sonia explained, these are drastic times for our beloved restaurants. After a difficult spring, summer, and fall, we're now headed into the cold winter months that in many ways will be the biggest challenge. The first thing we need to do is contain the spread of the virus in our state. And that's why we need to do a better job with the mask wearing, the social distancing, and the washing our hands. It's personal because you're saving your life and the life of your loved ones and making sure that you can see them safely over Thanksgiving and Christmas. But it's also about the cultural vibrancy of Colorado and consumer confidence in being able to shop and dine. It's time like this that we all need to step up to support our neighborhood institutions, like our restaurants, key pieces of our local economy, whether you're eating outdoors or you're taking out, or as we do regularly, we take out and we have delivery on a regular basis. And we also have an opportunity to really step up even more. If you're somebody who values restaurants, who might not have been going out as much as you usually do to restaurants, we have something that you can support financially with that money that you would have spent going out. And you can support them with the new program that we're about to announce. And I'm excited that a significant financial commitment that displays really everything that's good about Colorado has been made by Xcel Energy and the Xcel Energy Foundation. Xcel Energy and Xcel Energy Foundation are really stepping up for Colorado restaurants as a key financial partner in helping restaurants serve more people safely outdoors this winter and survive. Here to explain more is Xcel's president, Alice Jackson.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Governor Polis, and thank you additionally for your leadership and all you are doing to aid in Colorado's continued health and recovery during this pandemic. It has been an honor to partner with you and with your office throughout the pandemic, including participating in the Colorado Relief Fund. Just like our essential employees keep the lights on and your homes warm, restaurants and their over 180,000 workers in the state of Colorado represent the fabric and the culture of our communities. They are part of what makes this state a special place to live, to work, and to visit. And we know that when small businesses, particularly restaurants, thrive, our communities thrive. As a wife and a mother of 4 sons, I can definitely say that my family has enjoyed the variety of restaurants and small businesses across this state. Xcel Energy and the Xcel Energy Foundation are proud to be a part of the Colorado community, and we are committed to helping our state recover from the economic impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. Many Colorado establishments will not make it through the season if companies and communities do not help them increase their overall capacity and find ways to winterize their spaces to allow for more year-round usable outdoor space. That's why today I am proud to announce that Xcel Energy Foundation and Xcel Energy are investing an initial $500,000 to help support our restaurants through the winter season. But wait, there's more. We also know that they need more, and to help with fundraising efforts, we are also committing to matching up to an additional $250,000 in contributions. For every $500,000 that's raised, in addition to what we are giving here today, we will contribute another $50,000. That's a total contribution of $750,000 from the Xcel Energy Foundation and Xcel Energy. This is one of the single largest gifts that we have made in Colorado in our company's history, and something we could not be more prouder and more honored to support. We as Coloradans are a generous people, so I am confident that we are going to get to the total goal that is being stated here. At Xcel Energy, we bring warmth and light to Colorado homes and businesses every day, and this is one special way to help the restaurant community pivot to ensure that they can continue to serve customers all winter. I want to once again thank you, Governor Polis, for your leadership and this opportunity to help our great Colorado restaurants. By working together to identify innovative and feasible solutions to make outdoor dining not only viable in the winter, but also comfortable and fun, we can help sustain as many restaurants as possible through the wintertime and beyond. Thank you for this opportunity.
Alice, on behalf of Colorado, on behalf of all of the restaurants in Colorado, I want to express our gratitude to Excel and the Excel Foundation for this key support, this catalyst for creativity, really, right? I mean, there's so many great ideas. There's, how to incorporate space heaters and fire pits and electrical heating and all of these ways of doing it in a way that lets people have a reasonably safe experience dining outside when it might only be 15 or 20 degrees. And how can they have that comfort level where they're physically comfortable and reasonably safe? And everybody watching can match and match Excel, and they will match the additional contributions. Go to helpcoloradonow.org. You can give $5, $20, $100. I mean, look, if you normally were somebody that went out to eat at a restaurant and you're worried and now you don't want to this week or next week because of the danger of coronavirus, give that money that you would have spent dining out to the helpcoloradonow.org fund to help make sure that your favorite restaurant is there for the future when you're ready to go out again. So I want to thank Alice. As Alice mentioned, this is one of the single largest gifts Excel has made in Colorado in their history, and these are unprecedented times. And we are incredibly grateful for their generosity. And it's similar to their mission. They warm people up all the time, and this is about warming people up in a new way that's necessitated from the pandemic outside, and so they can have a reasonably safe experience. And I just want to express my gratitude to the Excel team, and I hope that many Coloradans will increase their impact by contributing to the COVID Relief Fund matched by Excel. HelpColoradoNow.org. Please, I've been donating my salary to HelpColoradoNow.org since the emergency, and will continue to during the emergency. And I hope that Coloradans, if you're not eating out and you're not ordering out, would consider donating some of that money that you would have spent doing so to help restaurants stay in business through this and provide a safe outdoor dining experience, which has been one of the key ways that restaurants were able to get through the summer and fall. So thank you, Alice, for the partnership. We're so privileged to work with you, to the restaurants and all of the independent restaurants across our state. We're just so honored to help do whatever we can to get through this difficult period. So thank you for being here. Thanks to Eileen, Sonia, the thousands of resilient restaurant owners, the entrepreneurs who in the face of these challenges are doing everything they can and being very creative to keep people employed, to stay afloat, to stay in business. Thanks to Excel Energy Foundation for empowering our neighborhood businesses, our cultural fabric, our vibrant way of life. And you know what? Coloradans have given up a lot during these times. We've given up seeing our loved ones, our friends. We got to ease up a little early on. Our state is the better for our diligence, but we need to do better. We need to do better. Above 5%, above 1,000 people per day, 2 days out of 3. On behalf of your own health, your loved one's health, of course, our local businesses and restaurants, be safe. See less people and try to do so at a greater distance. Stay in a little bit more. Wear your mask whenever you're around others. Wash your hands regularly with soap when you get back from somewhere like the grocery store or a restaurant. And be safe. We need to do a better job because no matter what we do to support the outdoor dining and everything else, if people don't feel reasonably safe and have that confidence, it won't be enough to help our restaurants get through this. So for your own sake, for your loved one's sake, for the small businesses across Colorado, be careful, social distance, wear masks, wash your hands, and if you're able to, help out at helpcoloradonow.org. With that, we'll be happy to take some questions.
5 areas of Colorado where there maybe have been specific problems where some of these cases are coming from. I know earlier we had CU Boulder, now I don't know where it's coming from, but also I think the WHO guidelines when cases rise above 5% is to start shutting things back down. So I'm wondering how seriously you're considering that as well.
So the numbers in this round are being driven by Adams and Denver counties. Those are the biggest increases. There are a few rural counties that have had spikes, but they don't make as they alone don't push us over 5%. So it's really Adams and Denver. Their Tri-County Health, Denver Health are really working on strong mitigation plans. I want to applaud the city of Boulder and Boulder County that successfully changed the trajectory of that outbreak in Boulder County. There's been a steep decrease in the cases per capita out of Boulder County because of the strong and early actions by Boulder. That's the kind of local leadership that we want to empower, that we want to support, and we'll look forward to working with Adams and Denver in particular, as well as some of the other areas across the state that have seen rising cases to get this better under control and save lives and move forward with economic growth and prosperity.
Hi, Governor. Mary Ann Goodwin from Colorado Politics. Back in August, you said you thought you would be able to eliminate that last call restriction and move it to midnight. And that was in August. We're now in October. You said you did it within a month. Are you reconsidering that at all?
So, Mary Ann, there's now a localized approach to last call. So there's areas of our state that have everywhere from 10 p.m. to 2 in the morning. What we are working on are finding a better proxy for successful social distancing and safe practices in restaurants than closing time. So that's a path that we're exploring with health officials, with the Tavern League. What that means is if we can figure out how to have a reasonably safe environment out, well, let me back up. Reason for the actions, as we've articulated, there's a correlation between inebriation and the relaxing of social distancing and the hour of the night. So that's, of course, common sense, but it's also backed up by not only people's individual experiences, but data and fact that as nights go on, people get, if they're at a bar or nightclub, they get more inebriated. One of the reasons they go out, except for hopefully the designated driver. And social distancing falls by the wayside. So the hour was a proxy for reducing these outbreaks at bars and restaurants. We are actively at work to find better proxies, meaning if a restaurant or bar can operate in a way where they can certify and establish that they do have their tables of 6 and not the freewheeling environment where one person infects 84, there's a way that they should be able to be open later wherever they are. But in the meantime, it is localized. So in areas that have less community spread, they have a 2 a.m. or midnight last call, and there are other areas that are 10 or 11 o'clock as a way to reduce that spread. It's also one of the things that communities look at as part of their mitigation plan when they have spiking cases. If they see that one of the sources of those spiking cases is late night socialization and mixing, then that's one of the things that they look at in the short term to bring the infection rate under control.
Governor, before the stay-at-home order was issued, you urged Coloradans to change their behavior. When that didn't work, the order was issued. What makes you think people will change their behavior now without tightening restrictions?
Well, I think the biggest difference now is this virus has taken the lives of over 2,000 of our fellow Coloradans, over 210,000 of our fellow Americans, well over 1 million people across the world. Many Coloradans know somebody that was hospitalized for a long period of time. In some cases made it, in some cases didn't. I think we've got to see the destructiveness, the deadliness of this virus up close and personal. And I know that Coloradans take that seriously. And we rejoiced when rates were lower and we made progress. But and I know that our commitment to wearing masks, to reducing our number of people that we see, to keeping our distance, to washing our hands regularly will increase now that folks are aware of this dangerous level of infection in Colorado with a positivity rate above 5% and over 1,000 new cases a day.
Hello, Governor. I'm Jesus Carrasquel from Noticias Univisión, Colorado. Gobernador, si siguen aumentando los casos de coronavirus, ¿se cerrarán nuevamente los restaurantes? Y si usted tiene alguna estrategia para ayudar a los restaurantes del estado.
Hoy anunció una programa nueva para ayudar a los restaurantes para tener la oportunidad para servir más personas afuera con seguridad, incluido en el invierno. Hay vías para ofrecer calentar, colorar las sillas afuera y de ver más oportunidades para cenar en una situación seguro y calor.
Hi, this is Erin Prater with the Gazettes in Denver and Colorado Springs. My first question is, where are deaths due to COVID at today? I believe the dashboard currently says 1,998. I think you just said 2,000. My second question is, nearly 80% of state ICU beds in use as of yesterday, according to the dashboard. Do you anticipate surge hospitals will be needed? And if so, December or sooner? And any concerns regarding ventilator usage? Thank you.
So 2009 deaths due to COVID is the number. 2,153 deaths with people who were COVID positive, but 2009 that were due to COVID. And each one, of course, is a tragedy. And I send my condolences to the families and loved ones of those affected. 290 hospitalizations, highest number since May. We are not currently at a capacity issue in our hospitals with 290 people being hospitalized. However, there is a lag for hospitalizations. So I want to make sure people understand this. The trajectory we saw with, for instance, the president, a highly publicized case, is not the typical trajectory of hospitalization. He was hospitalized, I believe, day 2. Typically, if people require hospitalization, and we went through those percentages of what percentage at different age levels require hospitalization. But if people in their 60s and 70s, it's about 20 to 30% require hospitalization. People my age, it's around 10%. It's lower for people in their 20s and teens. Mostly require hospitalization 7 to 10 days after infection. So if we're seeing these 1,000 case days now, and these are cases that originated in the last few days, the hospitalizations from those increased cases occur 7 to 10 days after the infection. That's the traditional course of this infection. Is it hits, the symptoms are usually minor initially. That's why it's important to get tested if you think it might be the fires and you're having trouble breathing or a cough or a sore throat. Then most people will get a little worse, but get eventually better over 5, 6, 7, 8 days. Some take a major turn for the worse. Then, for mysterious reasons, unrelated to pre-existing conditions, correlated with age but not determined by age, in days 7, 8, 9. And then some need to be hospitalized, others improve significantly. So 290 hospitalizations, well within our capacity, but that cannot double and double again. If it continues to double, if we continue on this trajectory, then we will be in trouble. That's why we're working with the Hospital Association to increase capacity. And they've had time now since March to develop those protocols around expanding their ICU capacity.
Hi, Claire Cleveland, CPR News. If the trend in Denver continues with an increase in cases, Mayor Hancock said yesterday that there will be a need for restrictions on capacity on businesses. What does that mean for fans in the stadium at upcoming Broncos games?
Well, look, it's about every type of activity where people are together, but there are a lot more activities every day where people are in vicinity. So I think, of course, Denver needs to have a strong mitigation program that needs to, of course, include and will include all kinds of ways that people might be exposed at workplaces in Denver, in areas that people congregate. I'm confident that just as Boulder County was able to bend that curve and emerge from an exponential growth of the virus. I'm confident that Denver and Adams County will be able to do the same.
Hi, Governor. It's Sean Chitness with CBS4. Just more on possible restrictions. What would the timeline be if we maintain 5%? How long can we go before you have to make that change?
So these are localized. There's in the areas that don't have the significant increases, they don't need to take the same mitigation measures as areas that have acute outbreaks. And we've had experience successfully handling acute outbreaks, but it takes a bigger change in Denver, in Adams County, in parts of Arapahoe County and northern Colorado where the virus is expanding. They need to take the steps necessary to get that positivity rate well back below 5%. We were down in the 2s. We'd like to see it at 2%, even in the 1s. But at this point, if we can sustain it in the 2s or 3s. One way is more testing. So part of that conversation is how do we have more community testing that's free and quick and easy, for people to get tested. The second way is how do we work to provide a social environment that's fulfilling for people, that's sustainable for people, where people simply interact with less people in the course of a day, do so at a greater distance, wear their masks, and wash their hands regularly.
Hello, this is Meg Wingeter from the Denver Post. I wondered, you're people to limit their contacts as much as possible for the next few weeks, but also talking about getting people to go and enjoy like restaurants and granted outdoors, but how do those two things align?
Yeah, this is not a time for fear, it's a time for caution, right? So we have our lives to live, we need to do this in a sustainable way. But we also need to do better than we have done. And so, as I said, maybe you were planning on going out with some friends. You might want to delay those plans a few weeks. Absolutely, dining outside at a restaurant, takeout, delivery. These are relatively low-risk activities. I know there's some Coloradans that don't want to do those things, and that's their prerogative, and that's fine. And maybe they're in their 70s and 80s and at a high risk, and they really don't want to see others, and that might be the right decision for them because we want to make sure that they're there for many years to come. There are other Coloradans that are going out in a reasonably safe way. They're being smart about it, wearing masks in public, sticking to small groups rather than large groups, and avoiding areas where there might be a group transmission. So this is an area of individual responsibility. It's one that we need to do better at. Now that Coloradans have seen these alarming figures, I know that they will be responsible individually and collectively to make better decisions to help contain this outbreak in the parts of our state that are being affected and statewide.
Oh, hi, Governor. This is Ed Seelover with the Denver Business Journal. I want to hit on a little bit of the topic like Marianne hit on earlier. As you're looking at how to help restaurants, have you looked at all at the idea of expanding capacity, or is that going forward going to be just a county-by-county decision? But I'm curious where you stand on that.
Well, and really, that's part of what we're talking about today with the support of Alice Jackson, with the support of the Restaurant Association and their members. This discussion, and more than discussion, it's about financial support for serving more people outdoors in a comfortable and safe way during winter. So I want that's really the focus of today's announcement and what it means, and I'll see if Sonia or Ayala want to address that.
Well, I mean, of course, we are looking forward to getting back to more traditional capacities as soon as possible. But obviously, we've got to look to the governor and his office and the epidemiologist to let us know. So that is why, to add to what he's saying, we're really trying to encourage this outdoor dining throughout the winter because it's something that has worked really well through the summer, and hopefully, people will be open to trying it throughout the winter months.
Yeah, and I think that's where this comes in. If they're comfortable, then they will be. And so that's why we need the creativity, the support of Excel for these kinds of solutions to figure out how we can keep people warm, comfortable, and safe, and inspire that consumer confidence that leads them to choose to go out or to order takeout or delivery, and support our local restaurants.
Mr. Riggs, I'm wondering if you can explain a little bit how outdoor dining will work during the winter months, because I'm envisioning an enclosed space, which would make me feel unsafe personally. So how are you going to keep people safe?
It's going to be a variety of things. We've seen restaurants who invest in very large tents and can safely do 6-foot distancing between parties. We've also seen restaurants like Aileen mentioned who are investing in singular party event, spaces. So individual tents that will hold just the party that you came with. And that you can safely air those out in between guests. So I think you're going to see some creative options. There may be some folks that just decide to invest in kind of warmer, small spaces that don't necessarily have a tent. And maybe those options may not be available during a snowstorm. But I think we're going to see a big variety, and that's the point of this design charrette and workshop: is what types of options are out there that you can consider. Colorado's, varied weather from some days we're lucky to have 65, 70 degree days in the middle of January, and some where it's going to be a snowstorm, but something that may work in all of those situations. And I'm very confident, and the governor's office was very clear in giving us some great outdoor guidelines on what constitutes in a tent for an indoor space and what counts as an outdoor space, which is more easily ventilated. So I think there will be a number of safe options, and you're going to see a lot of varied options throughout the state.
Also, to directly answer your question, and I think Sonia essentially said this, the state health officials really did a thoughtful job defining what is indoors and what is outdoors. So meaning the airflow, there can be, like, for instance, one wall, but if it has, 4 walls and a ceiling, it's effectively indoors. So it's about the airflow that they look at in different environments. This will support the types of environments that have the airflow needed to give it more of an outdoor risk profile rather than an indoor risk profile. And thanks to the support of Alice, and thanks to your support and Excel Foundation, there were resources behind this call for creativity. So I know that there is no problem so great that the creative, innovative minds and entrepreneurs of Colorado can't solve it. And we hope to be able to support local restaurants and small businesses in solving this through the support and generosity of Excel and others. Thank you.